Good morning. I'm so happy to see you and really excited to show you the way I put a large arrangement together. I know a lot of you have your own ways of doing it, and or you've done smaller arrangements and might wonder how one scales up. And I especially love to do large arrangements. I've been doing them for the church for a long time. And now to have this opportunity to do one for Garden Club for our first indoor meeting all together. It's a very exciting time. So it let me give this a little bit of thought and put it down for all of you. So when I'm thinking of a large arrangement, and this one is going to be used both at Garden Club and at church this Sunday. So both big spaces. So in something like that, I always do go large. I think about how can the arrangement reach out and send some energy out into the whole room, into those big spaces. So often it is something like this where there's some reaching out, often overall, but certainly in these bigger arrangements. I personally am looking for some connection to the natural world, a chance to really think about where I am in time and space, be in the moment. And certainly for Garden Club, where we'll be inside, but we'll be wanting a connection to the outdoors. And the same thing at First Parish. I'm always looking for ways to bring nature into the sanctuary. That's a great thing to do, a fun thing to do, a great inspiration for your arrangement. So right now, it's the very end of March. So it may seem like one of the least inspiring times of the year outside, but there's so much going on, as you know, if you've been out walking around. So I start by really taking a close look at what I see out the window and then going out and walking around. And I think having done that, what the defining characteristic of this time of year right here in Concord is shoots really pushing up through the detritus of last season. So we have leaves and branches all around, and then this surge of bright green. So that's what I'm trying to capture here, getting some of last year, and then getting some real energy going, some real green energy. So I'll show you that. Well, practically what I do starting something like this is see what I can find outside. And again, not a lot growing enough that it could work at this scale where you can see it across the room. So I knew that what I needed for that was actually something from last year or seasons past. So I went out walking and I actually found this. This is a great big root, and it was upside down, and it was just with the weather and ice beginning to push itself up out of the ground. So harnessing that energy for this arrangement is something I was after. I also felt like it could really represent all of the leaves and everything from last year that you see out there. So I brought it in. I wanted it to stay a little messy as things are this time of year, but I still thought it needs some cleaning up for Garden Club. So I did a little pruning, very much like you would a shrub. I took off cross branches. I took off some of the smaller secondary branches. Again, just like you're trying to do when you're bringing out the beauty of a bush through your pruning. I did that. I took off on this side, I took off some of the bark. I left some on for the reference on the other side. And then I put it in and it looked like, oh, this is complete. But of course I need to leave room for the flowers too. So I took the pruning saw and made myself a big hole right there in the vase for the flowers to go in. Then of course, I'm always thinking, what vase? Well, again, this time of year, I think what defines spring is all of the moisture. There's just so much water out there. So I'm very, very often using clear vases and showing the water in a spring arrangement. And it looks so great with those fresh spring flowers. The other thing I'll often use in the spring is a straw basket like this. I mean, you really think this is like the Easter basket idea. But I think the reason it works even for that Easter basket is, again, it's bringing in this sort of reedy straw-like. It's really what else we have outdoors this time of year. All the leftovers from last season look very much like a basket. So when you have spring flowers coming out of that, it feels natural. I went with the glass vase for real contrast for this. And with that, I also know when I fill something like this with water, I want this to last. It has to last actually several days until the Sunday service. I put a little alcohol in the water. I don't always do that, but flower preservative is made up of some sort of antibacterial agent and a little sugar. So that's why people use 7-Up, or they use witch hazel is another good thing to put in. Copper pennies people use, gin. So if I want to really keep water clear, that's what I do. And I knew the water itself was going to be a feature of this arrangement. So besides, when I go outside this time of year, besides seeing this sort of thing, other opportunities, of course, are for forcing branches. So we don't really have a lot of green out yet on branches, but I brought this spirea in, and I have quite a lot of it over here. And I wasn't sure if I could get the leaf to come out now almost 2 months ahead, at least 6 weeks ahead of when it normally would. But here it is. And I felt getting that little delicate leaf, again, it would just like pin us in this part of the season. Finding things that are meaningful also to you that you know make them fun to work with. And I saw we have this plum tree, and I thought, oh, I'd love to bring in some of that plum and just see if I can force a little bloom out of it, even though it's quite a bit in the future. And so then it's a happy surprise to me to see what it does. So I brought in quite a lot of that so that I could look at the arrangement and see how I wanted to extend that. And I'll bring you over here so you can see a little bit closer with me. I wanted to just look at the flow of this upside down root system and extend it, make it a little more gracious and graceful too. The roots are a little rugged, bring in some of that spring gracefulness. And I think the spirea, I picked some branches that will really curve off in this direction. And I wanted to then send some energy up in this direction. And that's what the plum is doing. I also am trying not to get, this is kind of a trick, not to get stems down in the watery area. So I have these balancing against the side of the vase. So that's always the way I start, by establishing the overall look and structure. And then I'll start putting in flowers. So let me tell you about the flowers for something like this. So again, I'll get right to showing you them too. I'm sure you're eager to see, and maybe you can see some of them beside me. But with something like this, what I wanted to do in any flower arrangement, I'm looking for, well, how can I find some moments of harmony? Flowers on the same section of the color wheel, some just real quiet brought in. And how do I get contrast, which is always in design, how you get energy into something. And I felt in both these spaces, I need to generate a fair amount of energy to get it out into the room, but also in spring to get that idea of that surge across, all those shoots pushing up through the leaves. To do that, I needed to use all the tools I could. So I'll show you that in flower selection. I'll mention also in the arrangement that my thought of how to do that is to really cluster some flat, colorful flowers right at the center, and then have them sort of begin to sort of trickle out so it feels like there's this burst going on. So in terms of flower choice, and I thought ahead because I did go down to the flower exchange to get these, I thought what I also wanted from this time of year was to get something that was kind of glowing. So that is what made me choose these. This chrysanthemum and this parrot tulip. So it was also just so lovely. And I did buy these 2 days ago so that the parrot tulip would really have a chance to open like this. And it's just so lovely that there's orange, but there's also a little pink in it and that graceful edge. And of course, I knew I wanted this sort of supple look, and the tulips do that so beautifully. So there are those two. And ranunculus is so great for this time of year. I mean, they have this great feeling of delicacy and suppleness, and they come with these buds that are so wonderful for the season. So soft, but they're also rugged flowers. They really last well. So maybe you can see though that in my color choice here, I already had the tulips in hand. So what I was doing was looking for a match to the color inside the tulip. One flower can help you really identify and understand a color in another one in the arrangement. That's what this is for. That's what this chrysanthemum does too. So then my question is what to pair with these. So for energy, I am looking for something that is right across the color wheel from them. I'm not looking for that like super energy that comes at the end of the summer when you have like goldenrod and asters next to each other, but some touches in the arrangement. So that's why I found these purple tulips. That's right across the color wheel from the yellow, but not a lot of them because I don't want that to be too strong. And then I also found this, this is called green tick, and I just love it because it looks so very moss-like. But when you have these three things together, also what you have here are tertiary colors on the color wheel. So that's a really nice balance. The tertiary or secondary colors, I should say, are in between the primary colors. You know, this one made up of yellow and red, this one yellow and blue, and this one red and blue. So I think I actually just picked these, thought they looked good together, but I like to think about those rules as I'm putting it together, kind of know what I'm doing. And I find them handy if I come up against a problem. If it just doesn't look right, then knowing those, then I can analyze it a little bit better. Let's see. I also got carnations. So carnations are so tough. They're in the Dianthus family. Just like this green tick is a Dianthus, you might see on its stem. And both of these, of course, are rugged. Gosh, they'll last for a few weeks at least. So it's nice to have something like that in the arrangement. I also thought that it relates to the yellow. I also thought it really kind of related to this soft brown tan color, and that might be a nice bridge in the flowers down to the tan. So especially in its shadows. I think that's all. Harmonizing with it, I'm not sure, and we'll see. So this wax flower matches the color of the purple tulip. And again, sometimes it's really nice to have that tie from one thing to the next. I'm not sure. I'd like to use it in a little accompanying arrangement. Will it feel too dry for something that I'm trying to keep so fluid? We'll see, but I have that on hand. Just as I have this Amy, this Queen Anne's lace looking flower. It just looks so soft and natural. But I'll be looking, is it too summery looking as I go along? That's the collection of flowers I have. So let me show you how I'll start assembling it. Normally, I would make a taped grid. I would give myself a little structure. I mean, almost always with something big, you need some structure, right? You know, whether it's a flower frog down in the bottom, so you have something to stick your sticks into, or chicken wire, or something like that. But here, where I wanted the water to be uninterrupted, I'm going to try to do this one without that. And the real estate in the top of this vase is so limited that that I decided not to put a tape grid on it because I didn't want to take up the space. So I put in these branches. The next thing I'm going to do is create that tighter area. And again, I can't just drop a flower into there because it'll just fall right down. So what I need to do is create a little bouquet to start with. And I've begun to get one going right here. So I'll do this, the way you do when you're making a tight little bouquet is you want to do your cross that over. This is like a regular old hand-tied bouquet I'm making. You turn it, you cross it, you turn it, cross it. So we'll just keep going around and assembling this so that we have something. I'll bring in just one little bit of purple right there. So we have something to really fill up that space. Yeah, I'm wanting a little more green. I'll get some of this green tick for this time of year. So then I'm kind of looking like this. I'll of course strip off the leaves. I'm thinking, that Amy looks just very airy. We want to have, there's some real density in this collection. I want a little more airiness. So I actually think I'm going to open it up a little bit, pull some of these ranunculus up, and then give it a snip as a group. There's always something new in each different arrangement. So I haven't done a lot of this, but let's see how this does going down into here. I really want this tulip to be visible. So I'm just trying to find this little slot to put all this in. And then we'll have an area, it's just this place that I have to fill up right away so that their own stems will make a place for me to add other flowers. Oh, and I think that's doing it just as I'd hoped. So let's see. Oh, I should say, I did tape this root in place just so that when I bumped it like that, it wouldn't go toppling over. Or when I move it to the church, I'll be able to do so. So right away, I'm doing things to open up these flowers a bit. I want a little bit of tightness here, but a little openness too. And I want them to feel like they're free, not resting on each other too much. So that's, we'll do that one like that. Then I'm going to do a little bit of this, and then we'll check back in. You'll see the progress I've made, and we'll just take a look together. So see how this is developing? Now that I've got this bouquet in here, I can start adding into the space between the flowers. And I did think that the wax flower, as long as I got the a lot of the green off of it that was a little bit stiff, that the flower looks sweet and springy, and it's a nice tie-in to this color that's almost exactly the same. So you have three of those. You all know this sort of putting 3, 5, 7 in everything we do with design. Interestingly though, I was just sort of following my gut on this, and I've ended up with a lot of things that are just pairs. And I don't know exactly why that is. It feels right. It may be something about spring companionship. Who knows? But I like it. See what you think. And I also like to put flowers in so that you can see them from multiple angles, which is why I thought having this tulip draping down, so you really got to see that attachment to the stem, the outside of the leaves. Again, as I said, I bought these a couple of days ago so that they would open. I mean, you can with something like this, you know, really coax it open like that. And that works. But yeah, I'm thinking about how to show flowers from various angles. It helps you understand them better, connect to them better, and create this really tight mass. I mean, I think I've even chosen flowers that have a certain sort of density of flower material. And then started the explosion going on with this false Queen Anne's lace, this Amy, this burst out there. So let's continue to build the burst. Let's see what can come out of this mass of flowers down here. So I'm grabbing one of these gorgeous tulips. I mean, I think it's really sort of the signature flower, the special flower in this arrangement. We'll give it a little snip. And then because we have flowers packed in so tight now, I am hoping it'll just fit right in. I think so. And maybe you can get a sense of like, understand a whole tulip from this. That's what I'm hoping too, leaves and all. So I think that may look quite nice. Yes, across from this other tulip. Let's see if we want to do that with yet another. Now this seems like a lot of leaves. So, and actually they're not in the best shape. So I'm going to take the leaves off of this one and cut the stem. I'm going to leave some height on it though, because I really would like to begin to see how far out the flowers will go or can go. So we'll put this one in. And again, I'm liking the relationship between this repetition of the same sort of flower, but also, you know, how this yellowy color relates to this and these sort of burst shapes in each and every one of them. Maybe we'll just have that coming out right toward us where you see it in all its glory. That feels quite burst-like. Let's grab some ranunculus. Let's see if we can get some buds into this arrangement. Or even, I mean, some of them are this very vibrant, pinky, vibrant, but if you compare this to end of summer flowers, I think you'd see that these are all just a little bit toned down. So I wanted to do that with these to make it really seem like spring. Also, again, not to be too jarring against the brown tan color. Really wanted that to integrate in. So, that seems a little long right there. Let's cut him down. And I'm like, oh, I actually want to see him from the side. So I'll put him in that way. Yeah, I like that. And some buds coming up. Let's try that. All right, I'm going to keep building and then I'll check back with you in just a minute. So can you see how I've added just a little more density here? I've picked up many more ranunculus. They're so gorgeous. I've put them in places where you can really see them from all their glorious directions, from the side, the bud phase. In these arrangements, I really want a chance for you to see and understand the growth of these flowers. I've also, again, the same thing with the parrot tulips. I've tucked this one in. Now that we have this density here of this tight flower arrangement, there's space for me to go and tuck other flowers right into that without coming down too far into the water, which was my objective. I don't know, what do you think? I'm actually finding that even though Queen Anne's lace can say end of summer, that the burst effect I'm going for, it lends itself so well to the Amy that I put quite a bunch of it in. And I think It's bright green, also looks early spring to me. See what you think? So it was a little bit of a balancing act and looking for spots to fit these flowers in, but I know I wanted to have, 1, 2, 3 of these very bright magenta tulips. I'm going to add a 4th. We'll see somewhere in the arrangement it'll be the 5th. So let's do that. Let's put our next tulips in. It seems to me I've got this density right here. I'd like to see a little action up in that space. So let's do that. Let's put first, these are big statements, these tulips, so they have to go right in the right places. And again, as I said, real estate is limited, but yeah, I like that guy right there. And yeah, I think up in that airy space, I really want the tulips to be the star of this arrangement. So I'm going to put 2 of them right in here. So as I hunt for a spot, I'm going to leave you, and then we'll come back and take a look at the next step of the progress. Maybe work on some other sides together. So we're finishing up here, and I'll show you what I did. I'm on the very, very last branch. I took a look at this and thought, I wonder if it needs just a touch more spring green. So I pulled this other spirea, and this is the kind of craziness I do at the end. It's like, is it better with it, or was it better without? Well, I kind of like it with. It was nice without too. There was that open space, but let's keep it in. We want as much of the spring green as possible. I'll show you a little bit about what I did. I mean, you can see I really just continued to put these ranunculus in, to put more tulips in, and I began to work around the arrangement too, because at Garden Club, at least, we'll see it from multiple sides. So I want you to be able to view it that way too. So here, from this angle, this is where you really get a shot of those 2 tulips and the inside of them. And I really wanted that, of the big open tulip. I really like to cluster these, the chrysanthemum at the bottom. I'm always looking at any size arrangement to obscure that hard edge of the vase. So I like to put something big. Also, I think the weightiness of the flower really feels like it belongs down at the bottom. So you can see how I've clustered those. Try to make this look of some sweet little ranunculus coming up out of the moss. Tie back into this, I feel like a transition flower from the colorful flowers to the tan of the bark. And as it comes around, well, you get to see the back of things too, looking through that Amy Queen Anne's lace. I always like that. Seeing some more tulips in their different phases, just this little tiny one. I'm wondering if you think, oh, you've left too many leaves on these tulips. Some of them are coming in front of other flowers. I guess I just think the leaves at this time of year are so much what we're about. So I wanted to feature them in this arrangement too. So here we come around to the front again, and I hope you've enjoyed seeing how this burst of early spring has come together. It's just great, as always, to spend time with you.